Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of The Fix. I'm rebranding from the Process Fixer to The Fix. We'll see what it ends up with. As you've probably seen throughout the show, it goes through multiple iterations, and this is a new one. I know, I have not done a lot lately, but that's changing. We're going to get back into the rhythm. Today, I have Lucas Petty, the AI Daddy, with me. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Derrick.
It's always good to chat with you, and we chat all the time. I've really decided to do this to promote what we're calling the collective, which is a group of people that I know and trust that aren't just in my professional network. It isn't just like we know each other professionally, like we all hang out together. So, there's a high sense of accountability. It's like when I was, as Lucas and I were just talking, it's like when an engagement comes through, these are the folks that I call on, and they know each other and they work together. They know how each other's think. So that really makes it a very cohesive team. It might not be all people that are officed in my office, although half the time you guys do come over and hang out. It's really that collective. And I want to introduce you to Lucas, because Lucas is a very unique character in this deck of cards. Lucas is the AI daddy. He's been an influencer on social media since the early days since ChatGPT sort of launched, right?
Yeah.
So he's been an influencer in that space and works a lot with businesses around optimization of process. Lucas, tell us a little bit about AI Daddy and what you do and who AI Daddy is.
Yeah. The quick and simple is we help you discover how AI can scale your business. And the way we've been doing it is with a one-day workshop that's guaranteed to uncover over 6 figures in AI ROI opportunities, or we just keep working for free. So far, we've never had to do that.
So, I mean, you bought a house, so you must have done it okay. And you just had a baby. So yeah, you figured it out, right? You're making a living, and it looks like you're well fed. So, everything must be working out okay.
Yeah. So if I could break it down of why uncovering the right AI opportunities in businesses. The way I see it is AI is reshaping every industry, yet most small to mid-sized businesses take on average 9 months to launch their first AI initiative. And what's even scarier to me is about 70% fail because leaders are chasing AI tools instead of prioritizing their people, as you know, their processes. And there's studies from MIT, Boston Consulting, Google, a lot of research out there to back that up.
And then Lucas, I don't know if you saw Monday, MIT said 95%.
Yeah.
95% of AI projects are failing because people really haven't thought it through. They don't have an expert to guide them and to think through where this is going.
Well, see, AI is powerful. That's like undeniable. Once you use it, you can't go back, right? Like if you've used ChatGPT and you've truly used it to do your work, it's made life so easier for millions of people. The problem is most leaders just don't know how to apply it. And I'm not talking about ChatGPT. I just said the problem that MIT's research and all the research out there is saying people are just focused and chasing on tools. And what happens is, look, I can chase productivity for the sake of being productive, but my to-do list never ends, right? Like even if I finish it for the day, my to-do list never ends. And just because I introduce a new tool that makes me more productive, well, I still have to spend an equal amount of time that I save learning how to use this new technology. So the real solution is, well, one, figuring out how you line up your team, aka the change management aspect of AI, because they're the ones fighting it. They're the ones terrified of losing their job. Then it's mapping out your processes and looking at how the sausage is made in your business, because really the power or the real ROI, most of the ROI from AI doesn't come from just having AI help you be more productive. It comes from literally fully delegating your work processes, workflows to AI. And you can really figure out what's worth delegating to AI by looking at your processes.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I've been podcasting on AI since January, 2 months after ChatGPT came out. I was talking about blockchain and AI all at that same time. Maybe even in my instance, I feel like I'm an avid user of AI. I have Ray-Ban Meta glasses. I talk to them. I have Grok in the car. I have ChatGPT set up. I have my own GPT agents that actually do different jobs for me. I wear a Plod device, right? I mean, I feel like I'm as hip as I can be for a balding middle-aged,
You're the AI granddaddy.
I'm the AI granddaddy. Yeah. My goodness. I love it. I mean, coming from you, that's a big honor. I'm the AI granddaddy. But I don't feel like I use it in my workflows. I feel like I use it as an editing tool, as a point of reference to go back to get information from. But you're talking about integrating AI into your workflow. Yeah. How do you do that? Can you give me an example of how can we automate some of the mundane, busy work of our jobs through using AI tools?
Yeah. First, let me give you a framework that I like to think through and walk through employees that are trying to figure out how do they kind of automate or integrate AI into their business so that they don't get replaced.
Yeah.
Basically, I say you need to figure out where you want to be the pilot, the co-pilot, or go on autopilot. What I mean by that is where you have to break down your tasks. You have to break down your processes and identify what are the things that only humans can do. That's where you're the pilot. That's where you stay in control. These are the things where you need to double down and where you won't get replaced, right? Building relationships. AI can't do that for you.
Yeah.
Like maintaining relationships with your clients, with your customers, with your employees, build everything people related. AI still hasn't stepped into that boundary, and I don't think ever will. Then you have the where do you want to be the co-pilot? And not to use that term because a lot of AIs out there call themselves co-pilots. Microsoft Copilot, a lot of different tools. And really what that just means is you've first identified what only humans can do. Then you've identified what you can, basically you're augmented with AI. You can co-create and do things with AI. This is the using your tools, right? Using ChatGPT as you described, using your Meta glasses. An example here is I've chosen to automate a task, not a workflow, not a process. And what I mean by that is I can have ChatGPT draft me up a blog post or, for my website or for a LinkedIn post or whatever it might be. But I still have to go in and edit it and tweak it and, and then go and upload it into whatever platforms or channels I want. The third bucket, which is where you're going to go, where you're going to be the passenger, where it's just going to be autopilot, is really just a way of saying, what are you going to fully delegate to AI? And this is the automating workflows. And really, this is just a natural kind of progression of we all hold on to work because our identity is tied and the years we've spent mastering how to make spreadsheets or send.
It even goes back farther than that. It's actually it's Puritans.
Yeah.
When the Quakers, Pilgrims came here, the Puritans, one of their main fundamental beliefs was this idea of obtaining righteousness and holiness through work. Yeah. That it was part of sort of the human process to struggle. So we have that same belief to this day. And listen, where did the Pilgrims escape? They escaped Europe. Who doesn't have that same philosophy about work?
Yeah.
The Europeans. So we think about the Pilgrims coming over here. What the Pilgrims actually came over here and brought was a work ethic. And that work ethic, I think, in the development of this country was really powerful. It was something that we could all look to and said, hard work, dedication, let's get to the finish line. Let's do this thing. Being exhausted at the end of the day is a good thing. It means you're holy, you've obtained holiness. But that is a dogma. It is a philosophy of pure. If you are not a practicing Puritan to this day, and you're not a Quaker or a Shaker or any of those folks, if you have electricity, that probably isn't relevant to you anymore.
No,
So
that is fascinating.
Yeah, that Puritan concept of work is where it comes from.
Yeah, and it just really comes down to like AI feels like such a threat to us, right?
Yep.
And it's hard to kind of reconcile that when it also feels like the best, which it is, the best innovation of our lifetime.
Yeah. Can I give you a quick example of that?
Yeah.
You've heard me probably say this before. I said it on a podcast earlier today with another group. If you think about the first cave mom who was standing at the mouth of the cave when her 2 teenage kids came with fire and they were like, look what we have. I mean, I have to imagine that cave mom was like, you kids get the hell out of here. We don't want that thing in this cave. You will burn this whole mountain down. Like, do you understand? And then finally it was probably some sort of negotiation. It was like, okay, you can do it, but it has to be like, at the mouth of the cave, you can have this fire, right? And then mom goes out there one evening when she's a little chilly and stands around the fire and goes, oh, all right, like that. It's pretty nice. I got to warm it up. I wonder what my pheasant would taste like over this. And she tries that. And the next thing you know, that fire starts creeping farther and farther into the cave. Isn't that the same thing with AI? I mean, we are standing at the cave wall right now screaming, no, keep this thing out of here. But the reality is AI could be the future of civilization, right? I mean, the reason that we have fire in our houses, I guarantee you and I are both within 20 feet of fire or electrical, something that is crazy to have in our homes or offices, but yeah, we do. Yeah. Because we've created the suppression techniques, we've created the extinguishing techniques, we've created the alerting techniques. So this isn't a problem with AI. It's a problem with, going back to that cave, not having the system in place to allow AI inside. And that's changing every single day.
See, I feel like what you're hinting at is the core human principles are there, right? Like the core tenets of change management, which is what is needed for AI adoption, are all the same, but people are too distracted thinking, oh, it's this big new shiny thing, which it is. But the way you apply every other, the way you use technology, the way you apply a tool, the principles are the same. And so
every advance, we've had to go through this. I mean, listen, the electric loom is a perfect example. There was an entire group called the Luddites that literally were like, this is the end of the world, the electric loom. So they would break into factories and destroy electric looms for the sake of humanity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's hands sew anything much anymore. So it's just a phase.
Yeah.
But it is scary until the fog sort of clears and we can see the light out there. So for me, I'm not negative about AI at all. I think bring it on. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't have global disruption for a period of time, but I look at the back end of this 2 or 3 years, 5 years out, and I say, look, what if for the first time ever human beings where work is no longer required to live? Because the value that AI is going to produce, we're not decreasing any value. It isn't like parts of the economy are going away. It's just parts of the economy are being automated and no longer require human hands. That means the value is still there. The money is still being generated, actually significantly higher because it's optimized. Yeah. So maybe it's just rewriting the rules of society to say, hey, look, work isn't really a thing in 10 or 15 years. You can do it if you want to, if it's your deal. But we have to have alternatives, and that could be volunteering. It could be social services. It could be caregiving. It could be, hey, listen, could you imagine how much different the United States would be, Lucas, if when Murphy had the baby, and you were involved too, I'll give you credit. when the baby was born, if you had an option to say, you know what, we're going to take 5 years off and just raise this baby, and we'll get a check from the government. It's a sustenance living. Like, we're not going to be traveling to Europe or anything. But if we wanted to stay home with this baby and optimize this baby's life and make it better, that would be taken care of. That seems to me like a potential future that's not that far off, because again, the value is not going anywhere. It's the velocity of the value is actually increasing.
I agree with you that the direction we're going to, we are just speeding up this delivery of value. If any, like, that's why literally the number one core value in our company is fastest wins, because that's what AI unlocks.
Yep.
And we like to say that winning loves speed, communication loves speed, and speed loves winning, right? Because who wins? The first one across the finish line. And what AI is doing, and if you start thinking of like the second, the first, second order consequences of this speed that AI unlocking is, well, it's starting to unlock mass quantity. And if we know anything about quantity, it is that the best, I think I don't know, a friend was recently telling me of this study that was basically a teacher divided their class into two groups. That was a photography class, and said, half of you have to just focus on creating the most amount of pictures, and the other you will be graded on whoever has the best picture. Needless to say, all the best pictures came from the group that was tasked,
of course,
with taking the most pictures possible. That's how they were graded. But yet, the result was that the best came from the most, and it makes sense. Everyone looks for like the secret of life, of business, of success, or whatever, and it's not a secret. It's just repetition. That's the consistency, discipline, all these words that are thrown out there is just to say, you look at any of the greats in any industry, in any sport, and across any art, they have one thing in common. They made more art than anyone else. They produced more of what they took more shots than anyone else. They did more of anyone else. And what AI is unlocking is that ability at scales,
it's actually optimized too, right? Because if it took me 10 people to produce $100,000 and now it only takes me one person to produce $100,000, my profitability and my yield from that investment goes up. Now the fundamental change, which all of my conservative, financially conservative friends are going to get upset here, but fundamentally that means that we're going to have to change the way that we tax organizations, because that value doesn't cost them anything to create anymore. It's very, very little. Like the equation changes. So in order to support that system, because there is going to be a cave in areas along the system, we've got to have enough tax revenue to support that. But as a business owner, I don't mind if you give me a piece of technology that produces 100x and you raise my taxes by 10%. I'm happy to. Do you want more? I mean, mother may I will take more of that. There's an exchange there, right? There's an exchange where value, instead of just going up to the shareholder value, it has to be somewhat distributed, because of this idea that it used to take labor to create value and now it doesn't. So this is a whole philosophical conversation. We don't have time.
That makes me think of a common debate in our society is like tax the rich, right? Tax the elite, the billionaires, the so on. And it's funny because that was a thing that I was thinking through as I've worked on refining, like who we wanted to serve, who we thought was kind of the most vulnerable to AI. And falling behind it, like we saw this huge gap. There's a lot of help for beginners to learn about AI tools. And then there's tons of expensive help for Fortune 500 companies to strategize and develop AI. But almost nothing for companies between like 1 mil and 200 mil in revenue. And that's who, like, we just saw, they're the ones that are the slowest to change, because they are the ones who, ironically, the thing that's keeping them from adopting AI is like the reason they need it, which is their people are the bottleneck and everyone is up to their neck with work. And so they don't have time to learn new tools or automate things. But ironically, the integrating the AI is the solution. Is the solution. I had a client recently that he wanted me to straight up just coach him through this. Like he allowed me to put on like my coaching hat on, because he was really struggling with, he knew he needed AI, He knew he should be using it. But him and his leadership team were ignoring it and dragging their team. And security concerns, a lot of fears, the overwhelm, the like countless tools, not knowing where, like, it all made sense. But he just kept coming back to saying, we just don't have time. We don't even have time for like a 1-day thing. And I'm like, well, this is why the average first project takes 9 months from the point that you decided to roll it out. Not because if you're listening and you still haven't really taken big initiatives, it's really been a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, he's been thinking about this since the day ChatGPT launched, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's taking that long.
But the thing I told him was like, just give me your phone. And he pulls out his phone, and I just go to his settings, and I go to like the part that shows your like time usage on his iPhone.
I'm gonna do it right now.
And he had like an average of like 4 hours a day on social media. He had like an hour or two on just like Reddit alone. Like,
yeah. Well, Reddit's gonna kill me. I'm gonna look right now. Reddit is my social media jam.
Well,
oh, look at that. Reddit, 2 hours and 27 minutes already. Yeah. Of the 4 hours I've spent online today, 2 hours and 27 minutes of Reddit. That doesn't.
And so I straight up just told him, here, I found you your time.
Yeah, but that you're so right. Like, just, and this is truly what it's about. I wrote an article today that I pushed out and did a little video on it too, about this concept of yield, right? We're so focused on growth. Oh, we just got to go faster and faster. And there's all this heat and friction and noise because we're growing in first gear, right? And if you've ever driven a stick shift car, you know what you have to do to go faster and to go further. And that is, you have to let off on the gas, engage the clutch, make the shift. 3 on the tree I learned on. So I'm going to go second is, there, right? Third, I'm going to make that shift. And as soon as I make that shift and re-engage the clutch, I'm like, oh, baby. Oh, this is so much easier now. I don't have all of this friction and tension and heat and noise. Now I've moved into this new gear. And the problem is, I think 95% of American businesses have been stuck in first gear for decades. And they don't have 2 seconds to literally shift. The thing that will solve their entire problem is the thing that they don't have the time to do. So I love your approach.
Yeah.
Everybody pull up your phone. Okay, let's take half of that time.
and I do the same thing with when it comes to like just the people who've told me they've heard about ChatGPT. And believe me, there are more CEOs than not, more business leaders than not, haven't actually taken the time to even explore a tool like ChatGPT that for most of us, it's like the gateway drug.
Sure. And that's just an LLM. Like, that's not all AI. I mean, that's just one type of AI. There's evolutionary models. You and I talked about evolutionary models.
100%. But I just usually give the quick advice of like, I just say the 1 minute AI rule, which is before working on any task, spend just 1 minute trying to solve it with AI, where you don't have to try and solve it. Just input into whatever tool you like, Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot, the thing you're about to work on, and just ask it, how would it approach it? What would it do? Whatever it might be. And more cases than not, 5-10 minutes go by and you've done 80-90% of the work. And I say this 1 minute rule because I see that the reason most leaders are dragging their feet on AI is just because it's not a habit. You don't fundamentally understand what 100x or 1,000, like, it sounds like bullshit.
It does sound like bullshit.
Sounds like bullshit because we've all been sold snake oil, and like we've all been given all these empty promises, but it's real, and you won't believe that it's real until you dive into it and you make it a habit. And it's not until you feel comfortable with some tools that you realize, oh, there's a whole nother level to AI tools, which is AI agents, and then the AI automation, and you get eventually to AI systems, and you have AI that is capable of connecting to all your tech stack, gathering and analyzing data live of all the little actions that are being taken from your marketing team, your sales team, your operations. I love the way you phrase this about problems in a business, which is like all business problems are communications problems, and every communication problem is a process problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's not a checklist, an SOP, a clear way of doing things, and so we get lost. Fundamentally, it's about like our ability to prioritize, right? Our ability to take action for our businesses, for our work, comes from like our ability to focus and prioritize and go, this is the biggest constraint in my business. This is the number one thing I should be focusing, and ignoring everything else.
Lucas, that is great advice. And listen, I want to, for the sake of time, I want to switch over to the next elements here that I want to talk about. But I'm getting ready to do a 4-part web series. I want to have you jump in like for a half hour on one of these with me. And let's talk about this. And maybe we can show some examples of this, because I'm going to be talking about in that webinar series that's coming up. It's 4 parts. It's in the month of September. And we talk about how to prepare for a transaction. And that's a sale, that's a change of management, that's a retirement, that's raising capital, how to prepare for that. And to prepare for that, you need time.
Yeah.
Where do you find the time? Lucas can help with that. So we'll do more of that on that webinar. Listen, let me ask you the 2 questions. The first one is the surprise question. And this is the one that I'm just going to shut up and see what you say, and we'll see how this plays out. So to get your drink of water, get yourself, get your head in the game here. So here it is, Lucas. Why do I like hanging around you?
Great question.
It's probably something you've never been asked before, right? But why am I attracted to hanging around with you? Like, why are you part of my network? What about you? Yeah, I'd love to.
I know you got the answer, but I like.
No, I don't know if I do.
The challenge of me thinking through it. So I would say it's just we both share the same passions.
Yeah. And
the passions of business, the passions of philosophy, the passion we love obsessing over business processes and how to do things better, and we love having deep talks, and we love going off tangent into into the crazy. Right.
We do tend to get to crazy, especially when you get like 5 or 6 of us together, and there's others that'll be on this show that you probably start to pick it out. You're like, man, the 5 of them together would be trouble.
Yeah.
So,
but I would say there's something deeper to it, because that's just the easy surface level of our friendship. Is we're both obsessed with business. We're both obsessed with philosophy. We are both at somewhat similar places with our business.
Yeah, I think
our business are complementary, but I think there's an element of we both teach each other a lot. And I think that's what makes things a lot of fun. Of course, you teach me way more.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think I learn as much from the people around me as I learn, as I teach. But
there's definitely this mentor-mentee element of we love supporting each other, because you've blown my mind in regards to how I think about working with executives, how I think about processes. I mean, because of you, I started carrying a stopwatch.
I remember when you were in the stopwatch phase, when I told you that, I'm like, there was a time when I optimized my whole life with a stopwatch, and you were like, your wife was like, he's literally carrying a stopwatch. Sorry. Wait, hold on. You can tell I'm not practicing nearly as much. I had to reach. I had almost a full arm reach to get to one of my stopwatches. I'm sure I've got this one too. So I've got them all over the place. I time everything.
And then from my side, it's like another thing we really bond over and geek out on is storytelling. And so you are a master at long form storytelling. You've become the #1 speaker in Vistage. Yeah. You are exceptional at that. And I've nerded out on the short form. I've learned how to make viral content that gets millions of views. I think that's one of the core things. we have the same kind of passions,
Yeah,
but we bring different approaches to the same elements.
yeah, I like that. That's a
Yeah.
great answer to the question. So we're going to ask one more question to close this out. But at first, I want to do a little bit of a pitch because we do have a conference coming up November 12th and 13th. It's called The Fix. If you're watching this right now, get a ticket. If you want to hear conversation, you hear us talking about philosophy. Anybody that knows me knows what happens once we get beyond dinner. It turns usually into a couple of hour session of philosophy and understanding the world and consciousness and all these things. So I am sure, even though there is an agenda for the conference, each night we are doing a cocktail party and dinner for a very specific reason. And I have a feeling it'll probably end up back in the backyard of my house most of this conference. So make sure you get a ticket. They're $14.95 until September 19th. That's when early bird ends. Get a ticket. It's downtown Phoenix. It's going to be a blast. It's in November. We did it so that you can stick around an extra day or two and go to Sedona, Flagstaff, do all the kind of Arizona stuff that you want to do. So here's the last thing I want to do. You haven't been through our virtual training yet to learn the new system approach, but how many times have you sat through training? 3 at least.
3 minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Sometimes you just show up halfway through.
Between 4 and 5.
Yeah. So you've seen the evolution of the systems training, and you've practiced this a little bit. So, I mean, tell me, speaking to the folks that are watching this, why learn the system? Why send your ops people, or why, if you're an independent facilitator, why do this? Like, what is it about what we teach with the system that has had you come back 4 times and say, I want to sit through that again?
I'll start off by saying that I was present for the very first launch, the first iteration, the beta test.
Yeah, that was probably more of an alpha test at this point, looking back.
And
we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, and I will say, in that first iteration, everything you covered and did was worth its weight in gold. I would have paid double.
Yeah.
And that was when it was just like raw, and I'm sure by your standards, mediocre at best.
Oh yeah. I give it a 1 out of 10 for that first one. But I think the funny thing is it averaged like a 9.6 rating from the people that attended it. So for me, I'm a continuous improvement guy. So you'll never come to a training session with me that's the same as the last one. I always improve it. Didn't I just give a speech that I've given over 100 times the other day, and you sat in the back of the room and you gave me critiques, and I threw the whole presentation away? You were like, there's just one little thing you could do better. And I'm like, start from scratch. Let's just do it all over, build it all back from nothing. So I know how I am. So I appreciate you recognizing that. There was value there, but I just feel like I try to make it better.
Yeah. And I'll say that part of that continuous improvement, the way you're changing it, is part of why I'd say that even if you've already gone through a training, pay for another one.
Yeah.
Like, give it a year. Like, every year I almost feel like it's mandatory, just because your stories change because of the crazy amount of companies that you work with. You became the #1 speaker in the Vistage network, which, for those of you who don't know, you basically have to own a 10 mil or above business to be allowed into this network, and they're all over the United States.
Yeah. And work globally. New speaker of the year after 6 months was pretty good.
After 6 months, you're right. And so that ability of you to obsess over storytelling, your ability to really teach and drive and refine these lessons, it's just a no-brainer for me to keep coming back year after year.
I love that. Well, listen, Lucas, thank you so much for being here. Lucas is the AI Daddy. You can find him AIDaddy.com. Is that right? Or what? Yeah. And you can go to TikTok and LinkedIn and all of those places, and he'll have his bio over on our website as well, because he's part of the collective. And the collective, for those of you who don't know, I don't have as much time anymore to go out and actually do the work. The collective are my trusted advisors. They are the folks that I call upon when I need help and say, hey, look, you know more about this than I do. I'm happy to put icing on the cake. I'm happy to do the presentations. I'm happy to stand in front of the audience and do the things. But these are the people that actually get the work done behind the scenes. So if you have an interest in what Lucas does, you can either reach out to me, we can work and collab together, or just go to him direct. Hit him up with Lucas Petty, the AI daddy. And Lucas, thank you so much for being here. And until next time.
Thank you for having me, Derrick.